Hello and welcome to episode 1 of Underhive Lawkeepers. As always, I am Spamuel and I'm joined by my co-hosts Nathan.
Hello.
Andy. We just got like a non-committal click from Andy. I'm assuming... Yep. Oh, wait, no, there we go.
Oh, there we go.
And Nedley.
What's up? How you going?
Excellent. Now, episode 1. So we had the last episode, which is the introduction and the like. And since then, how have we all been? What have we been doing?
Just modelling, doing just little bits and bobs. I'm working on a Necromunda gang at the moment for Archromunda. And they are looking pretty sexy. It's going to be Zinchian-themed Escher. So... yeah, they're coming along quite nicely. It's a lot more difficult than I thought it would be, but it's getting there.
Beautiful. And that's for Archromunda in November, yes?
That is correct. Archromunda in November. What's the name for it? Something... oh, it's escaped me now.
Road Warriors?
That's the one.
Road Warriors. And Andy, what have you been doing?
I've been writing the players pack for Archromunda. Road Warriors that I'm trying to get out as quick as I can because we have a little Juve on the way not long before it. So
what you're saying is instead of doing a players pack for a Necromunda themed event, you are on a podcast talking about not doing your players pack for your Necromunda themed event.
Exactly. Because that's exactly what I should be doing right now.
Well, you can blame anyone you want, just not me.
So now I need to write into this players pack that we're banning Zench-themed Escher just to make sure that we cover all the bases.
And squats.
And squats.
Just squats.
Ban them.
Well, I'm out. It's been nice knowing you. I'll see you at Archromunda 4.
Well, that brings us to Nedley. What are you working on at the moment, my dude?
It's one of Andy's absolute favourite gangs of all time. The Squats.
They got eaten by Tyranids.
They did.
It's definitely going to be one that's coming to Archromunda. It's actually based on a piece of lore. It's so it's using the League of Votann models rather than the Squat models, just creating a bit of difference out there. I know it's only minor, but to me it's something that really hits home with the lore of the game and the house or the clan that I've decided to go with within the Squats.
What house are you doing? Oh, sorry, house. What clan of Squats are you going?
I'm going with Svardhol. So it's a warlock clan, but there's just a few other tidbits. We'll get into it a bit later on in the podcast, but there's a few other tidbits just sitting in that Squat lore that is fantastic and lends itself back to 40k as well, which just opens up the possibilities of using these leagues models to represent the Squats.
Sick. I've seen a couple. He sent me a couple of photos of them. They all look awesome. And I hate to say it, but yeah, Squats just look awesome, especially when you mix together the Ironhead Squat stuff and the Votann minis. They just go together so well.
They're not awesome, but...
And interestingly enough, I mentioned this to you guys earlier. I actually started a campaign at home with my son. I'm trying to teach him the basics of Necromunda, and
start him young, keep him keen.
Yeah, he's 2 and he's really bad at it.
But you have lost a game against him, so
I lost the first game. Yes.
See, the apprentice is already the master.
Yeah, he did trick me. He did trick me. Got me in a pincer move, but it's okay. I offered him a bottle. He said yes. I laughed at him. He then bottled the game, and I won the second round.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that one. Now, in today's episode, we are going to be looking at, it might be part 1 of 2. We're looking at about the first 10,000 years of history of Necromunda. Now, a lot of this information is coming straight from the Necromunda rulebook, people who will know a little bit more about the lore than sort of your newcomer will probably pick that there's a lot of stuff missing from this. And the key reason, because this rulebook came out before the House of books. So it doesn't really dive in too much in regards to, for example, the creation of the Goliaths or the breakdown of the genome for House Escher. Doesn't matter in regards to the Piskians, that sort of thing there, or Pisceans, depending on how incorrectly you want to pronounce it. But all of this information here comes from the pre-House of Book era, so it's going to be a little bit more broad and generalized than a lot of the newer information. And if we're good to go, we can jump straight into M30. So the Age of Strife abates, and Necromunda, known at this time as Arrhenius Prime, has weathered the long storm relatively untouched, shielded from its neighbours by etheric storms, yet connected to a network of allied worlds by a series of ancient warp gates. And that ends up getting blown away because the Imperium rediscovers Arrhenius Prime, the homeworld of the Arrhenius continuity, and their Iron Lord masters. And the most boring legion of the Horus Heresy, the Imperial Fists, bring the world back into compliance as part of the Great Crusade. They no sooner have the Arrhenius people submitted to the Imperium than an unknown Xenos race strikes. And only the destruction of the Warpgate networks saves Arrhenius Prime. Gazing upon the dead yet thriving world that survives, the Imperium dubs their newest conquest Necromunda. If you read into a lot of this information here particularly comes from the Horus Heresy sort of rule books, and that it's so cool because I get it, it's Imperial Fists and they're not exactly the most exciting, but they literally got together tens of thousands of troops on Talan, which is sort of a few light years away from Necromunda, and basically just smashed planet after planet after planet and just ruined the Arrhenius continuity. And then as soon as they've conquered and they basically say, yep, sweet, we'll join the Imperium, like the next day, these Xenos just come in, and I think it's widely suspected that they're probably Necrons. I think they have lightning weapons, and I believe the ships are described as sort of crescent shaped. And they just come in and just absolutely wipe out Necromunda. So they punish the planet, and it goes from this sort of thriving industrial world to the glorious, unending hellhole that we know and love today.
I mean, if you're sitting there going, Imperial Fists are boring. Come on, they're genetically super enhanced super soldiers wearing powered armor. If you're calling that boring, what hope do we have for the rest of the history of Necromunda?
Well, I mean, they only did one thing right, and it sure as heck wasn't defending the walls of the Imperial Palace.
Let's have a little offshoot, just a very small offshoot here. There are 18 other legions. Oh, sorry, so 17 other legions. Well, and they're all significantly cooler than the big yellow nerds.
They did give us the Death Watch. You got to give them that.
Death Watch is cool, but they don't offer anything else other than being just a poor man's Iron Warriors. But let's keep it in the Necromunda world.
They do give us.
Well, in a sense, they did create Necromunda. Really, there's a reason the planet's inhabited, which we'll get into later, and it does revolve around the Imperial Fist. So, I mean, if they're kind of the boring brothers of all the others, well, what hope do we have once we get a bit further on in this history?
Second foundings are pretty cool, though.
Second foundings aren't bad.
Oh yeah, Black Templars represent they're insane.
Yeah,
I love
they're
them.
great.
They definitely only have 1,000 Marines.
The Imperial Fists are so boring that they broke away and created their own, and the black and white guys are definitely a whole lot cooler.
And what did they do? As soon as they could, they got as far away from the Imperial Fist as they could. We're going on a crusade. See us later.
We're out of here.
We don't want anything to do with them. Why not? Because you know why. They're dull and they didn't do their job.
Because everyone hates painting yellow as well.
Yeah, true. Yeah. That's 90% of my justification for this.
All right. So after that, we have an Orc invasion, and an Orc fleet sails from the Empire of Calverna, striking out at dozens of nearby systems. Among these is Necromunda. The Imperial Fist, boo, and ships of the Crusade fleet meet the Orcs in space, and after a brutal battle in the void, deny the Xenos mass landing upon the planet. A handful of orc rocks, however, fall upon one of the southern hive clusters, smashing its walls open and disgorging thousands of greenskins. The Imperial Fists are swift to act, making a counter-drop and mustering Imperial forces around the Xenos landing site. The battle for the hive cluster ravages the landscape, and only a trickle of refugees is able to escape into the wastes. When at last the orcs are destroyed, the hive cluster is in ruins, its tumbled form looking like the skull of some great beast. To honor the victory, the Imperial Fists are invited to set up permanent presence on Necromunda and draw recruits from its populace. Honestly, it's like going to a party and saying, guys, let's just throw away all the beer. Inviting the Imperial Fist to hang out on your planet.
I'm going to invite the Popo to come and hang out with us. Great. Fantastic. The only benefit is all the boring guys get to go with them. Oh, here's your new recruits. Have them. They all got out of the library.
Yeah. He goes to bars and reads books. And not even cool books. Like he reads the dictionary just to search for mistakes. No, sometimes he gets crazy. Has a milk.
Whoa.
But he's got to read McCartan first.
And one cool thing about the skull is I'm pretty sure when they brought it down, they basically took the planetary defense lasers and they fired it into, is it the skull or Hive Secundus they did that to? Where they fired the planetary defense lasers into the actual hive.
I thought it was Hive Secundus.
Is it Hive Secundus?
I'm blurry with this knowledge.
I'm about 90% sure I have mixed the skull and Hive Secundus up together. Yeah, so you know what? Let's just go ahead and say that it was definitely Hive Secundus because they nuked it afterwards, I'm pretty sure.
Even better, we could just say coming up in a future episode, we'll reveal the true answer.
Yeah, coming up in a future episode, we will tell you what we should probably know now. And so after orcs, we've had an invasion by Imperial Fists. Now we've had an invasion by orcs. And now we get to the arch traitor Horus, sundering the Imperium with his betrayal of the Emperor. And brother turns upon brother in a galaxy-spanning civil war. A loyalist stronghold? Boo. Necromunda remains under the protection of the Imperial Fist? Boo. Though the 7th Legion itself and its Primarch concerns itself with the defense of Terra. They didn't do a very good job, but I guess they were doing it. And battles against the traitors. While the greatest struggle for victory is played out across the stars, shadow wars are fought on Necromunda. Though all but rumours of these battles and their participants have been stricken from the Imperium's records. So we know Necromunda was a loyalist planet. They didn't sway too much, or if they did sway, they were at least smart enough to Control-Alt-Delete. And looking at M31.
I have got that. So that's the Lawless Age. For 3,000 years, I think it is. For 3,000 years, Necromunda suffers under bandit hive kings and ash waste warlords. So the ash wastes were as prominent in the Necromunda history as it is in the most current history as well. It's very interesting.
It was, so the Necromunda was a industrial sort of hive manufacturing planet. And those Xenos, when they basically laid waste to Necromunda, created that sort of ash waste of the modern age. Yeah.
Right. So during these bloody centuries, countless weak planetary governors try to impose their will upon the hive world, but are unable to bring their subjects to heel. So this is where you then have the rise of the Gang Kings. I guess this is sort of the precursor to what we would expect, what we know as modern sort of Necromunda. So for 2 centuries, Necromunda's first planetary governors wage a war of control against a people that still remember the age of the Iron Lords. During this time, the first true Gang Kings emerge, powerful warlords that have conquered entire hives or hive clusters. To extract production from these rogue hives becomes a constant struggle, the Gang Kings caring little for anything beyond the walls of their steel kingdoms. So that encapsulated sort of what I was talking about in our episode 0, like everybody fighting on the streets and the Spire, just doing what they do. So the First Great Pacification, when Imperial ties failed to meet the quota established by the Adeptus Terra, punishment regiments are sent to bring Necromunda back into the Pax Imperium. Many warlords are made examples of, their corpses hung from spires, while several hives are decimated, a tenth of their population exiled to the ash waste to perish in dust storms or at the hands of the nomad tribes. That is very, very interesting history, because it sort of, just a little fraction of it sounds like the Unification Wars, just hunting down these warlords who have gone against the status quo. So, very, very good similarity.
That concept of just kicking people out, like, you're done in the decimation, just saying, get out, go to the wastes.
Yeah.
It's in sort of the older N95 stuff, it was always said, so-and-so conquered so-and-so, and they literally just cut a line down the middle of the population and out into the wastes you go. And, it's just I think that's the most terrifying prospect of the living on Necromunda, the concept of you can just be told, nah, buddy, you live in the wastes now.
Yeah.
Like,
you've no longer got a roof.
Yeah, these people have never seen the sun, and now all of a sudden they're living outside.
Yeah, it's brilliant and terrifying all at the same time. But it just shows that brutality that comes from the Imperium, which begins from Unification Wars and is like just passed on throughout centuries and centuries of Imperial rule, which then in turn
did the old Emperor himself create these Thunder Warriors, unites the Terror, and then just wipes them out after the hard work they did.
Yeah,
it's in ground all the way back to Terra.
Yeah, exactly.
And then so when you go to Necromunda's is a holiday destination in comparison, and it's as we're saying, it's brutal. Like these, and its history keeps repeating itself in the Imperium, it seems.
And that brutality should be there. I mean, if you have a look at where it is in the Soul Sector. It's not that far from Terra. So a lot of those things that you're bringing up, destroying his own warriors and stuff like that, well, of course that's going to follow through into the surrounding worlds close to Terra before it makes it to the outer reaches of the galaxy. So it's not surprising that sort of stuff is happening on this planet if it's happening galaxy-wide.
Yeah, true. Very true.
Going back to some of the N95 stuff, and even sort of brought back in with some of the more modern N17 sort of lore, House Catalyst had two really big sort of expulsions out into the waste. In N95, do you remember the old nomads that used to have the double-bladed knife?
Yes. They had the rules. They had the rule where you had to have some form of thing that could crack the hive. So they either had to have a missile launcher or crack grenades where one of the members of the gang had the ability to make a hole into the hive.
Yeah. Well, the House Catalyst double-bladed ritual knife it kept showing up on Nomads models. And it was sort of like, hey, because these House Catalyst guys were kicked out and became Nomads. And this is back when Ashwaste Nomads were, a little less esoteric and mysterious as they are now. But it's crazy because these House Catalysts, who were straight up nobles, who at their whim, people lived and died. And now they're living out in the wastes. They're raiders. They're little better than, the scum they look down on for their lives. It's like Nedley said in regards to that necessary brutality, not for just your lessers, but for those that were maybe almost your equals and just needed to be brought down a peg or two as well.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And next up, we're looking at M32.
Well, here we go. We're going to get to all the really exciting stuff again. Things I love. The Spear of Dawn. The Imperial Fist will raise the Spear of Dawn atop the High Primus. Fortified spire builds upon the old chapter stronghold and forms the basis of a permanent presence by Space Marines on Necromunda. The following centuries, punitive actions and imperial edicts will be enforced from this mighty citadel. So it looks
including no one can have fun.
Yes, the fun police, basically. And now back actually to the really cool stuff. age of the outlawed nobles. The noble houses come and go, gang kings rising up to dominate a hive, and within a generation claim hereditary rights for its rule. The Laster brothers, Cogtooth Prince, Needle Queen, Dorgal of the Trezor, and countless others make their mark upon Necromunda. Inevitably, their offspring and allies turn against them, and within a few decades, or centuries at most, their names have been forgotten and their thrones stolen by new tyrants, which is exactly how it works even at gang level. You could have had the world's greatest leader, and then out of nowhere, a Juve falls from the heights and takes him out just like that, and his name is forgotten.
That's beautiful.
I actually don't remember that leader's name.
It plays exactly what I just read.
I've not realised until just then. Yeah, I've totally forgotten that dude's name.
Do you remember the Juve?
I think we should just rename him Daniel the Lost.
Yeah, he was originally named unimaginatively Neo.
Yep.
But yeah, I think he ended up we ended up calling him like the media because he just that one perfect kill of killing his own boss and just being like, well, that happened.
And so I'm assuming the Juve survived out of all this, yeah?
Yeah, it actually survived the fall.
Walked away without a scratch.
Basically, then he knocked himself out and killed his leader.
Yeah, the leader's neck broke the fall. Yeah, right.
Yeah. And we're looking at M33.
So that brings us to the second great pacification. A dozen gang kings claiming descent from the Iron Lords vie for governorship of Necromunda. Each tries to deal separately with the Imperium, and each asserts that they are the true voice of the world. In response to this rising chaos, the Imperial Fists begun the second great pacification. There's those boys in yellow again. Like, I thought they were boring, but they're everywhere. This is great.
Boo.
So this time round, almost all of the ruling elite are wiped out. Spires are sealed off and their inhabitants are purged, leaving mid-hive clan masters in charge under the careful watch of arbiters.
Oh, God.
That's right. Spamuel's quitting the podcast on episode 0 and now episode 1.
So I want to stop this real quick, and I just want to make just a general house rule. Can we just call them Arbites? They're Arbites. Arbites.
Arbites. Arbite.
Arbite sounds perfect.
Do you know what the German word, which I always find it odd, that they've used Arbeit for the Arbeit? The German word for Arbeit is Arbeiten, which means work. That's called
maybe work.
Right. They're the work
They're
police.
the work police.
Work police. Okay. You know what? I'm just going to call them work police from now on.
They're the work police. Good.
Yeah.
So we've now got to move on to the second part of it, which is the last free lord of Necromunda. So Treyarch Siberia is the last gang king to resist imperial subjectation. Siberia refuses the mantle of planetary governor, claiming a return to the time of the Iron Lords and a Necromunda free of the punishing industrial tithes imposed by the Emperor. In the end, it is not the Imperium that defeats Siberia's rebellion, but a gang lord by the name of Martek Helmia.
I mean, he could have taken the job, and instead he's like, nah, I'ma just spit in your face. I mean, just go back to the good old days where we just kicked people out into the wastes.
No, man, no problem.
Well, I do like what you read before. It's like, well, we just killed everyone and then just closed the doors and said, you can't live here anymore.
Yeah.
They just sealed off ice. Done. Sealed them off. Sorry, champ.
Done.
Isn't it very much like what happened in China with COVID?
Jesus. I don't know.
Jesus. And that's the end of the podcast. So we've just been banned from Spotify.
Oh, God. I've just got to scan it.
But luckily only in China. We're still available if you use a VPN.
This brings us into the rise of the Overlord and M34. So, a powerful leader rises to bring order to the feudal chaos of Necromunda. Now, Lord Martek Helmea, progenitor of House Helmor, wages a war against the bickering hives and renews the Imperium's faith in his industrious world. Because nothing makes the Imperium love you like just wagering war. And Martek Helmea swears an oath to the Imperial Fist, that he will unite his people and restore the Pax Imperium. Impressed by Helmea's devotion, Space Marine Captain Galus takes his oath, and the Gang Lord is given a chance to end Necromunda's unrest without further intervention by the Imperial Fist, but only if he can do so within a century. This average dude who's just basically clawed his way out of a super futuristic favela has convinced this giant space marine that A, he's going to live for 100 years, and B, he can get the job done in 100 years. So you kind of question the Imperial Fists here. Are they so divorced from humanity that they just forget how long we last?
I'm in total agreement with you there. That is a peanut-brained Imperial Fist. Just going, oh, that makes sense. I've got some Iron Warriors to go argue with. I'll leave you to it.
I'm going to go build a wall.
Well, I think the main thing is that the Imperial Fist wants their hands of it, so you can actually progress and get something done.
You don't have to bother with those pesky rules. You can just gas that hive that won't follow you. So the time of broken trade. And after a long war fought by gangs and assassins as much as armies and war machines, Helmea counts the greatest hives as compliant to his will. Those that still resist are cut off from the world. Before the turning of the century, the isolated hives are ready to swear allegiance to Helmea, and the Gang Lord counts his oath complete, taking the title of Planetary Governor of Necromunda. So we were wrong, apparently. And if we'd read an additional paragraph, we would see that somehow old Helmea has somehow done it. I'm guessing he just started gassing hives.
Yeah. Traditional approach.
Are you going to follow me? No. Well, gas.
Yeah.
Seal it off.
And
Done. Next.
Yes, seal it, gas it, next.
See you later.
Bye-bye. Now, this brings us to the Great Road War. Ash Wasters, Muties, and Scavs gather under the rule of a powerful wasteland warlord. It is rumored that the warlord is a descendant of Siberia, or perhaps even Siberia himself, kept alive by the Dark Age technology. Thus begins the Great Road War. Nomads and mutants striking at the connections between hives. For decades, the descendants of Helmea dispatch gangs of outriders and airship battalions to secure the trade routes. After a series of punishing defeats, the Raider Alliance is broken and their hunters scattered to the wastes. Of their warlord, no sign is found.
Can we just have a look at this bit here for a second? I mean, airship battalion?
Yeah, buddy.
Like, come on, we've just got the Ash Waste. So really, in terms of the game itself and playing the game on the tabletop, we've just hit this point. Airships? Is that going to be the next cool thing that we're going to see in this game?
I want to see ornithopters and, zeppelins.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that'll be cool. Zeppelins.
Yeah.
You know what? I think I must be getting old because the whole time I was reading it going, this was it Siberia or whatever the person's name is? What's his name? Siberia? I'm going, that's such an Escher. That's such a chick. And then I just read here, Siberia himself, and I went, oops, I'm wrong again. Here we go.
Yeah, he's the guy we spoke about earlier.
Oops, got it wrong.
This last part of M34, the Immortal Cult, an age of uncertainty brings with it opportunists, and countless cults and seditious clans take root within the hives of Necromunda. Among them is the Immortal Cult, and though many of its contemporaries will vanish after only years or centuries, the fledgling Psycho Cult lives up to its name. A cabal of rogue witches and weirds, the Immortal Cult seeks to bring about a psychic awakening in mankind, and will have a hand in Necromunda's fate for millennia to come. I mean, everyone loves psychers. everyone loves a little bit of Warpcraft, and weirds are always such a cool addition, especially when it comes to Necromunda. And yeah, this is something I want. I want more of. The crazy psycho nonsense that comes from stuff like this.
Yeah, total agreement with you. And I think, psychers are such a iconic part of the Warhammer 40,000 / Necromunda universe that it's to see them on the ground level, to see them not within necessarily more formal roles like within Space Marine chapters or with Imperial Guard and all that kind of stuff, but to see them just as weakened psychers or things that are just barely sanctioned. Yeah, sanctioned psychers, so that's what I was looking for. To see them in this element is always so great because it just allows you to delve a little bit more into that, what I think is really an iconic part of the Warhammer 40,000 lore as a psyker. Like the Space Marine and the psyker for me are just two things that are just so fundamentally true, so fundamentally iconic to Warhammer 40,000. So yeah, I hope that gets expanded on and fleshed out a lot more.
They touched on it with the Dalark, which was pretty good. The old
that big headed model. Yeah, looks fantastic.
When I played the game originally, I ran the Dalark before they look like they do now, and I always ran a weird Beastmaster with rats, just because it gave you those numbers on the ground, things that could take hits for you, but wouldn't cost you. Your gang wouldn't get injured. So when I see things about psychers and stuff like that, you're hoping that is something that they really do flesh out, because all of us had a psyker in our gang, all different types. We all had a psyker in our gangs, just because of that cool. Everybody wants a Space Merlin. Like that's a cool way to go. So.
Yeah, totally true. Yeah.
And I'm called the Power Gamer.
It's all about the theme. Back off. So I guess, M35. So the Ash Waste Exodus, Imperial Rule Titans on Necromunda, and House Helmaya.
We've only said it.
Yeah, I know, but it's different to actually read the word. To hear it is different. No, Imperial Rule Titans on Necromunda and House Helmaya target subversive bloodlines, exterminating those with seditious ancestors. Oh wow, that's wonderfully brutal.
That sounds a little bit no
Imperial.
No, proactive. It sounds a little bit Holocaust-like.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, Imperial.
Yeah, true. Thousands flee into the Ash Waste ahead of the Imperial House's murder squads, becoming the forefathers of the nomad tribes and wasteland settlements. That's really cool. So there's sort of like a generational grudge against the Imperial Houses. That's really funky. Forging of the clans, the division between the noble clans and house clans of High Primus is ratified by House Helmaya and becomes the template for many other hires on Necromunda. The houses of Yoranta, Waiter, Gorshed, Mung, and Yolanti are officially recognised by the Imperial House and given a writ of nobility. The others, Olwar, Hasbel, Yungar, Averest, and Orland, are given dominion over the various industries of the Hive. All other houses absorbed or declared outlaw.
It's funny that is those words. I look at them and go, isn't there the Mungvays? And isn't Orland the offshoot of the Orlok, or where the Orloks come from? Like, I'm looking at it going and seeing all that stuff tucked in there perfectly.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Yeah, so Yolante would be maybe like
Mad Donna,
which is then like, was that the precursor to the Escher House, perhaps, maybe? Yeah, right.
Very cool.
Anyway, cool.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff later on about like the Mung, like you said, the Mung vases. Then stuff like that comes up later on, and then obviously definitely in the House of books, a lot of it's expanded on even more. But yeah, it's just cool. Like you see, Yoranta, Waiter, Gorshed, Olwar, Hasbel, Younger, Averest. You're like, who are they?
Yeah. Yes, I totally agree with that. And it just inspires you to want to go, okay, can I create a game? Even though you're talking like, thousands and thousands of years, but that's a drop in the ocean for the Warhammer universe. Warhammer 40,000 universe. Sorry, that's how can you create a link to that particular name, and what can you draw down from it to create something iconic within your own game.
Also, imagine just waking up one day and being told you have the wrong surname. You're now a Yolandi, or you're now a criminal.
Yeah. Yeah. That just messed things up totally.
Things completely out of your control. Forged in blood and iron, the last true descendants of the Helmwire cements its legacy of control upon Necromunda, and the last wayward hives are brought into compliance. This age also sees the rise of the clan houses. This is what we want to hear, and the start of the long gang wars between them for dominance. How do you pronounce it again?
Helmia.
Helmaya?
Helmaya. We've said it so many times.
Don't be, you were the same guy. Helmaya's last son. I'm assuming this is going to be Yar Helmaya,
I'd say yeah.
a deformed, frail creature in the last true gene descendant of Martek, kept alive in a bed of nutrient cables. Yar spent his short life ensuring the preservation of his line, harvesting favorable DNA strands from the strongest Necromundians and mixing them with his own. He creates a house of Helmwar, and then he dies. Well, I didn't know that. I actually just learned something new just from that quick read there. It's actually pretty incredible.
I learned something. I learned two new things. I learned that, and I learned Yaya.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
He's from his character from a movie.
Yeah, Helmaya.
Helmaya.
So basically, he lived in one of those beds from the Matrix, when Neo wakes up.
Yeah, right. Yeah, sounds like fun.
Just stealing DNA,
and all he was just a DNA factory to make sure his family kept going.
Well, his name kept going at least.
Yeah.
See, that's why I think it's Yar.
Yeah.
Night of Long Shadows. Mere years after the first fat children of the House of Helmwar had birth, an alliance of noble houses moved in to claim Necromunda for themselves, dispatching a legion of augmented assassins to infiltrate the Spire fortress of House Helmwar. Only Yar's foresight saved his gene children, and the assassins are met by some of the meanest gangs and bounty hunters ever to crawl out of the Underhive. By the time the sun rises over the toxic clouds of Necromunda, hundreds lie dead, but their future of House Helmwar remains intact. That sounds like a story we need to read.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being a butler? You're just standing there, you're heading over to the rooms to buttle something, and you open up and there's just one side, gangs, bounty hunters, just absolute scum, just heavily armed scum. And on the other side, the people you buttle for and their little private armies, and they're just killing each other. You're just like, I reckon these pricks are going to think I have to clean this up. What do I do with all of these bodies, honestly?
Corpse grind, baby, corpse grind.
Well, becomes food.
That one pissed off butler.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't reached them yet, so it could be true. We'll find out.
Both nobilities. Jarl Helmwar IV, Lord of the Imperial House, inscribes the oath nobilities. This document is a pledge taken by all the noble houses and clan houses of Necromunda to never break the Pax Imperium with open war. The sacred object and its thousands of signatures are sealed in the Spire vaults of Hive Primus. So that sounds like the Magna Carta to me.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
First Great Clan Wars. The clan houses of Hive Primus waged gang war over the Hive's industries, culminating in the First Great Clan War. Asbel is completely destroyed, while Ulwar is divided into Ulweir and Ulrak. House Helmwar is content to let the clans fight, provided that the industry quotas are met. So I just had a quick snoop before on what they make in what weapons and something they make. They are known for making bolters, las guns, shotguns, and heavy bolters are the key weapons that are made in Necromunda.
Yeah, okay. Bolters, hey?
So, bolters, you'd figure there'd be more bolters in the game.
Unless you're a Goliath player.
Unless you're a Goliath player, you should only ever be allowed to have one.
Comes in, yeah.
Hey, all I needed was
something that people like to just mass produce in a Goliath gang, it seems.
But see, now we're starting to notice a bit of a change here. I mean, you just said that Olwa's divided into Olweir and Olrak. Well, Olrak, we're getting so close to
Yeah, but I think
Orlok
isn't
now.
all. But I think Orlok comes
Yeah, it's-
from Orlund or whatever it is. What it's called? Where is it? Orland, I think it is.
Maybe.
Well,
Yeah.
it's something we will find out at the end. But I mean, just noticing that there is a
Oh.
move towards that Orlok there, and we're talking what M36.
Things are definitely starting
Yes.
to look more familiar.
Oh, here's another one we need to know. The death of the Mung. Mung noble house of High Primus passes into history after the last of its patriarchs perish. Their brains are sealed in a specially crafted stasis vases and then hidden across the hives by faithful servants so the house might one day rise again. Centuries later, Mung vases remain the most sought after items, and their preserved brains of the patriarchs are a delicacy in many Necromundan hives. That is a classic.
So think about it. When you find a fake Mung vase, is it that there's no brain in there? Or is it just some poor bastard that was walking down the street gets knocked out by someone, their brains are scooped out and thrown into a vase?
Wait. Eat.
Yeah. Have you just clicked onto the fact they're eating brains?
Yeah. It's just like I love the darkness of it, but
Hang on. Are you the only one here that doesn't
Yeah,
eat brains?
apparently so. But it's
Yeah.
like proper gross. It's like, but I like see this is like a thing where you just like give me more info. I want to know why. Why would you be eating those brains? What do you get out of it? You know what I mean?
Protein,
Intelligence.
You don't. You get bloody.
vitamin A.
You get mad cow disease. That's all. Jesus Christ.
Necromundans have never eaten a cow before.
What
True,
are the,
true. I
what are
stand
the
corrected,
capital of the imperium? Is
All
it Grox or something? Is that what it is?
And they're already mad.
Mad
The
Grox.
Grox.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Crocs. Yeah,
Yes,
The lizard cow.
Yeah.
Mad Grox disease.
mad Grox disease. Yeah, exactly. You don't
I'm
want to get that.
Oh, you can't
Say
you
no
can't
to
get it
brains.
twice, I've been told. The Dark Orb. Necromunda passes close to the planet Somnus. The baleful orb hanging in the skies above High Primus for weeks, causing gigantic ash storms and hive quakes to wreck the planet. Thousands of people believing that this end of times have come throw themselves from the upper levels of the hives or commit mass suicide in Factorum machinery, leaving entire hive levels populated only by the dead. Wow.
The light bulb burned out. No one passed off the memo, and people overreacted.
That's actually pretty deep.
It's like it's quite a full-on part of the law where you think about it. It's like they commit the mass suicide. It's like, oh, okay, there must have been. Oh, well, let's just assume it was some sort of chaos infection, just to make it not seem as dark.
The fervor and the insanity that must sweep over hives in this fashion, and we see so much of it, especially in the recent campaign books we'll touch on later on. But yeah, imagine it. You've got that classic image of the bloke saying the end is nigh, and it's in this particular case for thousands of people, the end is nigh, and they're jumping out of the upper levels of hives, or they're just diving into machinery, being like, "Well, it's a quick way out."
Jesus.
It's so 40k, and
Yeah,
it's just
And then all of a
distilled.
sudden the light comes back on.
Yeah,
but I totally agree with what you're saying there. It is so 40k. It is as dark as you could possibly get, and there's no like this silver lining at the end of it or anything, or shining light at the end of the tunnel. There's no silver lining to this. This is just the darkness of this planet and the viciousness of it. That, like, as we've read through the history, is just constant. On a more lighthearted note, a house divided.
Well, that's right. So this is where the houses start becoming divided in M37. So after centuries of stability, Necromunda is threatened by decline and division of House Helmwa. The millennium that follows sees the noble house turn against itself, and the spectre of imperial retribution return. So it's a bit of a callback to what we had a bit earlier when there was the 100 years given to settle the planet.
things aren't going right. So there's that Spectre Imperial Retribution. Like, it's the fear that the Imperial Fist, Boo, come down from the tower and just sort of say, well, you ain't doing the job. Time to get killing.
So here we've got Yar Helmia's legacy spawns generations of Necromundan lords. Some such as Alice the Pale and the Sons of Korth prove able rulers, even-handed in trade contracts and swift to punish disloyalty among the houses. As the years march by, however, the House Helmar succumbs to decadence and decline. Its rulers often more interested in personal excesses. Voss the Younger spends his rule Ghast-induced coma. So he's in a coma from taking too much Ghast.
I mean, it's the only way to party.
Ignorance here. What is Ghast?
Yeah. In N95, it was known as Spook. It's been changed to Ghast in N17. Basically, it's a weird fungus that grows on like expired like bones and corpse starch. It can cause people to become psychers or unlock temporary psychic abilities.
Right.
Yeah, its use in game is insane. Some of the stuff we'll talk about later on about Ghast and the way it's traded and how it's sort of seen on not only Necromunda but throughout the Imperium. It's actually really cool.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So going back to Voss the Younger, his followers are forced to listen to his dreaming whispers for their commands. So, I mean, this guy's in a coma. He's whispering in his dreams. They're taking it as gospel. You got to think, the planetary governor is treated like it's the word of the emperor. This guy's in a coma and whispering in his dreams, and they're following.
It's good to be rich.
Apparently it's good to be in charge. So Targan III creates chaos as he moves his entire court to the Underhive to escape incessant criticism of Necromunda's moons, while Dagon the Scaled spends years indulging in horrific genetic experiments on himself and his kin.
This is sounding very, very, very much like Slaanesh to me.
True.
I think it's the concept of absolute power corrupts absolutely. The Helmors can and will do whatever they want, and no one can really tell them no. I think it shows, like, you got Voss the Younger who's doing that much space cocaine that he's in a coma, and he's mumbling, and everyone's like, well, he told us to blow up that hive, so I guess we got to. Targan goes into the Targan III goes into the Underhive because the moons criticize him, and Dagon the Scaled is basically, I don't know, growing superfluous third nipples on each of his children. No one's going to tell these people what to do because their word is literally law. It's not just Slaanesh and the concept of excess. It's they literally are excess. They can do what they want, and it's their right in their minds.
They're put in there by powers above them, and realistically, like I said before, their word has to be taken like the voice of the emperor. This is just the society that's created in 40k. Anyone that's in charge, it's as if the emperor speaks when he's speaking down to you, and that's just how you have to respond, regardless of what it is.
Yeah, true. And it's what we're seeing there is the fact that as long as they continue paying the tithe, then the Imperium doesn't bother them. The Imperium's like, hey, you're doing batshit crazy stuff. That's fine. The moon's having a go at you. All right, mate, no problem. Have you sent your weapons and your men? Cool. Carry on.
Yeah. You tell that moon, buddy. Yeah. Head on downstairs. Just make sure we got our guns.
Yeah, I honestly, when he read that, I thought I'd misheard about the moons. I was like, hang on. And then when you clarified, I'm like, no, I didn't mishear. It is actually the moon. Old Bert Newton having a go at Targan. Yeah, right.
It is an Australian reference, but that's okay.
So yeah, anyone who doesn't know Bert Newton, seriously,
Google
just jump on the old Google,
have
a look at it, and I tell you now, he is probably one of Australia's most golden presenters. He's just been on our screens for decades. And
apparently, he
some of his
survives into the
just
37th millennium to yell at Target.
Yeah, for those who don't know, he was known as Old Moonface. So but have a Google.
So moving on from there, we've got the Two-Face War, and this is where things start to become really interesting. So we've got Hiroto Helmwar. At the time, he was one of the planetary governors, and he's actually died, leaving no clear line of succession between his two eldest children, the Lady Sindarak and the Lord Gothrul. The brother and sister wage war against each other. Sindarak from High Primus, Gothrul from the Needle. Careful not to draw the ire of the Imperium, the conflict drags on for over a century until Sindarak cripples her brother's armies and industries. Helmwar reborn. Lady Sindarak cleans house, purging the Helmwar bloodline and impurities and weaklings. Hundreds of noble sons and daughters are either destroyed or offered up to the Astra Militarum, the Minotaurum, or the Adeptus Mechanicus. Their fates lost among the stars. Many more flee their house, mother's wrath, escaping down Hive or out into the waste to find their fortune. The Second Great Clan Wars. Lady Sindarak stirs up unrest among the clan houses, forcing them to meet unrealistic production quotas to find where weakness lives within her hive. Jungar, Avrist, Orlund, Olweir, Orlak struggle among themselves, while new clans such as Hura, Vozak, and Goliath see opportunities to rise. Some noble houses such as Gorshed and Ashaki are cast down in this time and must fight for clan status. So here we go. There's Goliath right there.
Out of all those words, you found Goliath.
Of course. It's me.
The Goliath player could spot the word Goliath
from a mile away.
I think what's really interesting here is when you talk about her defeating her brother, it's not just about defeating his forces, his armies. It's also about his industry as well. So I think that's such an important thing within the history of Necromunda is ensuring that whoever is in power, it's not just about your strength of power or your martial prowess. It's about your ability to maintain that through your industry. So that is industry because you need to provide that industry for the Imperium, but also to be able to provide for all the houses that are basically relying on you for weaponry and other resources. It's an really interesting sentence within this. Is just the destruction of the army and the industry is just as vital.
It's because as soon as the army's gone, you can actually then destroy the important thing, which is the industry, because you can be in charge, but if someone else is the one saying to the Imperium, "Hey, I'm giving you your weapons, I'm giving you your men," why is the other guy telling me what to do?
So we're moving forward. We've got the Green Menace, and this is where the Orcs come back. So the Orc vessels from the Xenos Empire of Calverna begin appearing on the edges of the Necromunda system. At first, they're content to raid Imperial convoys and outposts, but soon there are many sightings of ramshackle Xenos vessels lurking among Necromunda's moons. More worrying tales of Orc raiders landing in the wastes, attacking remote settlements, and even finding their way into the Underhive.
Orcs on Necromunda is just such a cool concept. Orcs anywhere is just such a cool concept, but Necromunda is the perfect microcosm of the Imperium and Warhammer 40k in general, where literally everything, to a certain degree, excluding like Space Marines, maybe Necrons, maybe not, can be there. Like if you can genuinely come up with reasoning as to why they're there, they can be on Necromunda. And this just shows you there's the Orcs from the Skull from earlier, and now there's these Orcs that are just landing in the wastes and going, "Hey man, let's attack a settlement." So if you want to run a gang of Orcs and put them up against, I don't know, Ash Waste Nomads, there's literally an example right there of it occurring.
What's really easy to do. You just play the Goliath green and you're done.
Orcs are smarter.
Same thing, isn't it?
Well, I think with my reading ability, it's been proven that orcs are smarter. So, counting of the tithe. Agents of the Adeptus Terra arrived to reevaluate Necromunda's tithe grade, having marked the world for audit some 4,000 years ago. 2 centuries of census follows, though the output and populations of most hives are estimated. No attempt is made to catalogue the thousands of scattered Ashway settlements. By the end of the long and arduous process, the Adeptus Terra concludes the tithe grade will remain unchanged. So kicking people out into the waste has kept their tithe the same.
Well, there's a
essentially,
there's a little bit of lore that floats around that they did a census of the upper levels of Hive Primus, basically getting to the wall where it really meets the underhive and that sort of thing. And it was like 1 billion people just in the upper section of Hive Primus. And they looked at that and just went, well, there's about 1,000 hives. And if you've got, 1 billion people that just at these levels where we still count them as people, yeah, your tithe is pretty good. You can keep giving us men and guns. Like it's just so much bigger than we can comprehend the concept of living in a hive city.
Yeah. I totally agree with you there. It's like we talk about it in numbers that make sense to us, but it's actually like you're talking about 1 billion people in one tiny little pocket on one hive. Well, not a tiny little pocket, but one element of a hive. And to give, you're talking 7 billion people, or 8 billion, I think, now in the world.
I think we're 8 billion.
Yeah. Like that just gives you an idea of the numbers that they're talking about on Necromunda, and again, what it allows you to explore with your own gangs, with your own interpretations of the lore as well.
What's 1,000 billion? Is it like a trillion?
I don't know.
I'm going to say it's a
lot
trillion. I'm going to say it's 1 trillion people. There's 1 trillion people on Necromunda. I think that's like 47 zeros. I don't know.
But just coming back to that, that's just inside the hives. That's not including the people in the wastes. How many people are in the wastes?
Or even the underhive. That's
exactly.
That's only going the estimation at the wall separating the upper hive from the lower hive of Hive Primus. And yes, Hive Primus is the biggest. It's the most populated. It's the capital city, for lack of a better term.
It's the Imperial Fist stronghold.
Boo. But yeah, the population might be bigger there on average. But even then, even if it's only 500 billion, then let's keep it a little bit conservative. It's only 500 billion, so it's only 55 times our entire planet's population. Those sorts of numbers are just ridiculous, and it's the reason Necromunda is so cool, because there's all of this possibility just from the last, we've started off in M30, we're coming into M38 now, so in 8,000 years, just the sheer size of the lore and history of this incredibly brief overview of what we can actually get into. It's massive. There's no other word for it. It's just massive. And I don't know about you guys, it's one of the reasons why I love this game so much.
Yeah, well, just the expanse you have for your own ideas, for your own renditions, your own thoughts on it is just extraordinary. You can do whatever you want, really. As you said earlier, if there's a Xenos race you want to include, mate, there is scope and scale within this, not just within this universe, within this planet, to have that happen. And then, as we were talking about earlier, what this game allows you to do when you're rolling dice on it, the background you put into your gang, the lore that you can attach to it, is what makes all that dice rolling fundamentally more engaging and more important for you as a player.
That's it. It gives you the scope to create within this setting what you want, whether that is a bunch of orcs who are pretending to be Goliaths, whether it's Zinchi and Escher, whether it's Tau Pathfinders who are masquerading as Ashwaste nomads. It's genuinely limitless what you can do. And that's before you really start bringing in your own interpretations of rules and equipment sets and that. That's just going by what the base rules allow.
We've even got snippets with the Smuggler Shore Party, those cold traders and stuff like that. Like there's things that are leaning towards that
and
could be represented by
just
Eldar.
Being able to create your own gang
that's a
allows you
possibility.
to port anything across from anywhere.
Venators, you mean the literally whatever you want option? You're 100% right there, man. It is literally you can port over anything.
Choose your stat line.
Which one's got the best cool and the most attacks? Because I'm down for that one. Oh wait, Goliath.
You're so one-dimensional.
Exactly, one-dimensional, like a good Goliath should be.
Now, we will wrap it up there at the end of M37. And for part 2 of this episode, we'll continue on from M38. Now, before we close off, thoughts, guys? Have you learned anything new from just the reading there, starting with Nathan?
Yeah, massively. Like I've said in our 0 episode, I'm not as well-versed in the Necromunda lore as you other gentlemen, and I'm already springing ideas into my head about the next cool gang I want to do. Yeah, this gives me inspiration to have a look at, all the different aspects of how you can use a Venator gang or how you can use other gangs to represent it. But the lore's just so thick, it's so full, it's just got so much in it, and we're just giving the snippet. I can't wait till once we start actually delving into the individual gangs and so forth. It's going to be amazing.
We're not inviting Deadly for the Goliath episode.
Oh, that makes sense.
He won't be here.
That's because I am the Goliath episode and you know it.
And Andy, have you learned anything new through this one here?
That Imperial fists are boring, and that I guess for me it's the lore has lost more house names than we currently actually have. So the ability to go create your own house,
and this is still
very,
before
very
we even get to the sort of in-depth jumps into it. So as Nedley's pointed out a couple of times with the Orlocks and that sort of thing, there's a couple of different houses involved with that one there that just aren't there anymore, and we'll eventually learn why. And Nedley, you learned anything new there?
I learned how to read. No, in all seriousness,
you did very well, mate.
The fragility of the human race. Like, we're talking maybe a split second of a 24-hour day. There's just a solar eclipse, and you've got mass suicides. That's how fragile this universe really is. It's pretty eye-opening when you look at it. You're almost looking beyond a third world. You're looking to a fourth or fifth world country. So what's the mind state of these people as they're going in? They're in a war-torn galaxy, living on a war-torn planet where even the upper end of it, the planetary governors and stuff like that, are amongst themselves fighting wars. So what hope have they got as people? And yeah, it's that real grim, dark setting that's there. But I also learnt that 3 people sitting around here now don't like Imperial Fist, yet they're the whole reason we're here.
You were getting a little bit serious there. Like, can someone get Kylie Jenner to give this man is it a Diet Coke or a Pepsi?
That stuff's carcinogenic apparently now.
I've been drinking it most of the evening, so that's a shame.
Bye, Sam. As I said before, always bringing us back to those light notes about Necromunda. Yeah. Every time I roll the dice now, I'm just going to be like, well, that's pointless, isn't it? Oh, I hit. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Hey, that must have been a Nedley model. It's dead now.
Well, that kind of explains it about my Juve, why he jumped so readily.
Yeah, he didn't fall. Yeah.
Yeah. Closing thoughts dudes, anything else you all want to say?
No, just can't wait to do the next one.
Yeah, well, we won't be inviting you. You're far too upbeat for this podcast.
And he reads too well. I'm embarrassed.
Yeah, he reads really well. But we've got a little something here. We want to close the episode off with just some of the cool little quotes we get from the Necromunda rulebooks, because some of them are just very, very cool. And this one here, I believe, comes from the Book of Judgment. If you ever find a twitchy fella speaking in riddles, shoot him before asking questions. Might be a psycho. If they weren't, well, it's their own fault for speaking in riddles. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Once again, I am Spamuel, and I'm joined by Nathan.
See you later, boys.
Andy.
Hi, guys.
And Ned Lee.
Thank you very much for this enlightening chat. I look forward to the next episode. Catch you all next time.
You are far too upbeat. Have a great one, guys. See you next episode. And that was episode 1 of the Underhive Lorekeepers podcast. Please tune in to our next episode, part 2 of a brief 10,000 year history, where we close out the last few thousand years of the 40th millennium and step into present day Necromunda. I am Spamuel on behalf of the Lorekeeper team. Thank you for listening. As always, if you have any questions, complaints, corrections, or just feel like arguing about the correct pronunciation of Arbites, please reach out to us at underhivelorekeepers@gmail.com. Thanks.